What are some tips and strategies that you've used when you were plotting and planning on a new piece of dirt? I'm Matt Drury, and this is DoD TV. This segment of DoD TV is brought to you by Mossy Oak Gamekeepers, your ultimate resource for wildlife and land management. In the early part of 2017, Mark Drury acquired a couple of new pieces of property in northern Missouri. In this episode, we jump in the tractor and sit with the madman himself as he exposes a few more of his tips, tactics, and tools as he masterminds his food plot architecture. Alert, alert, gamekeepers everywhere. It's time to grab your pen and paper because you're gonna wanna write these down.
Project 120, 120 acres in Mercer County, Missouri. One of the questions we get quite often is how to take a spot and make it better. This is a new farm for me. It's one that a realtor called me about, and he said, I got a really rough farm. I like those words. Rough in a realtor's mind is generally a lot of brush and a lot of timber. He said, you really should take a look at it. Looked at it and absolutely fell in love. I knew it was a farm we could do something with. Every single inch of it is solid hardwood timber, but most importantly, it's young timber. There's a few mature trees here and there, but to me, this farm looks like it got cut within the last 2 decades, and there's a lot of trees that are ankle in size to thigh to waist. So a lot of the cover is low to the ground. White-tailed deer don't really get a lot of usage above 5 feet. I mean, they live from 5 feet and below. So I love thick, dense cover, not only for the food that it provides, but also for the cover that it provides. Once we got in and I decided I wanted to purchase this farm and go forward with it, then we walked the legs out of our tails. I mean, we covered every single hogback, every single ditch, every single fence line. It's only 120 acres, yet we spent 2 or 3 days walking this farm, learning it inside and out. We were looking for every bedding area, every scrape, every trail, everything we could learn about this farm in a blitzkrieg of scouting. Hard to see it, but that's the old fence line. We've walked literally every inch of this fence line just to know what kind of fences we have, whether there's cattle on the outskirts and places that we might need to patch up. Last thing we want to do is plant all these food plots and then have cattle in there eating them and not the deer. Then the next step was to lift the cover up a little bit, put some Reconyx cameras out. Luckily, the timing of the year was such that we could put cameras out and see what the herd looked like in general. Number one, I was looking for the herd ratio, how many doe pictures I was getting versus bucks, but I was also looking for what the age structure looked like. You can tell this farm has been cut and that one has not. And in most areas on the farm, you can't see but about 30 or 40 yards. That kind of cover to me spells success when it comes to wild game. You've got to have tight cover for security. We put the Reconyx cameras out. We left them run for about a month, 1 picture every 30 seconds. Refreshed the corn piles once in that time, 200 pounds of corn at a time. And what I learned from that camera survey in December was that the age structure was pretty good on this farm. Overall, I had pictures of like 10 or 11 different bucks that I felt like were at least 3.5 or older. It told me that A, there's either people managing in this block, or B, the hunting pressure is such that a lot of deer are reaching mature age class. I looked at it and I said, you know what, we can do some good here. We got a blank chalkboard. All of this young timber, there's no food on the place other than the natural browse and acorns, that type of stuff. So it was December, so we were able to put corn piles out on 4 different Reconyx cameras, and the results were literally remarkable. I wrote a contract on this farm in December. The closing was set for February the 10th. Once we closed, we were lucky in the fact that the winter was dry and we had an early spring thaw. So I wanted to get a dozer in there, get the roads and all the access established, as well as those 2 food plots. It's going to be important to get some green growing on both of those plots if we want to take advantage of it yet this spring for turkeys. Another thing we recognized, this farm, there was an old road bed running through it. You could barely get down it with a 4-wheeler. We're going to open that up, but we noticed there was a lot of traffic that shouldn't have been here, so we put a gate up first thing. We asked around and found out that It's an old four-wheeler trail and a lot of trespassing. Hopefully that gate curtails that trespassing. The next step in the process was to do what we do and add to it biologic and all of the different things we like to plant. But to do that, we've got to make some food plots or some open areas before we can start planting them. We wanted to bring every tool we could possibly need, and I think one thing you have to be mindful of when you come in, work on roads, work on plots, you're probably gonna run a lot of the game that's in there out, especially on a farm that's 120 acres. So what we're trying to do while we've got the correct weather is get in there, do all of our intrusion within a week or two, get them planted, and then get out and let the farm settle back down. So we literally have every tool we need to make sure we can get the job done. Once we found all of the deer trails, then it was time to establish where the food plots were. We mapped it out, we cross-referenced that with all the different reconics pictures we had. We looked at our strategy of a rut strategy and a late season thermal cover strategy, and we said, all right, 120 acres, let's try to get at least 4 to 5 acres of food in here in the form of 2 different food plots, about 2 to 3 acres each. I'm gonna plant with a December strategy, and I'm gonna plant with a November strategy. To me, that's when this farm is going to be the best. Big timber tracts like this one, to me, get better as the season progresses. In the summer and early part of the season, a lot of times these farms exhale and there's deer out in every nook and cranny. But by the time the leaves come off, these timber farms start to fill up, and I'm gonna plant with that in mind. We're limited a little bit in terms of where we can put the food based on the topography. I wanted to go either flat, flat bottom or flat, flat ridge. There were only 2 or 3 likely spots for that. We chose one big flat bottom on the southwest part of the farm, and then we chose a ridge more off to the northeast part of the farm. I grabbed the camera and we're getting back in here where it really gets interesting. Back into probably our most remote plot. This one's probably gonna be about an acre, acre and a half. You see the crossing we just put in, we had to have it to get back here. Fertilizer, seed, tractors, mowing, whatever the case may be, and we're still working on the plot back here. Bill's on the dozer, Wade's doing a drone shot right now. Beautiful, beautiful area inside all this big, pretty timber. One thing you never want to do is go in and tear up a farm and erode it. We got a little slope leading into it, but we're going to put a berm all along that east edge of the plot so that the water will hit that berm and then go off the field. I don't want all the water coming off those ridges and washing the food plot out. So while we have the dozer in here, we're actually going to direct the water around the plot.
Total distance to the other end, 125 yards. Total width's probably about 55-ish to 60. We're gonna soil test it, try to get the pH up because it's no doubt low, and then we're gonna add whatever we need to in order to have a clover field with a host crop of wheat growing by mid-April. Right there, there, and there. We're hoping that they roost there. No idea if they do or not because we've never hunted here, but we feel like if we put this green field here, they're gonna roost in there, fly down to there. This is exciting. It's like a blank chalkboard down here. If you look at that dirt, it looks pretty fertile, looks pretty rich. It's kind of a little bit sandy, a little bit loamy down here in this bottom. The soil up there where Bill is a little bit more clay-based, I noticed when I walked along there. So that should help us actually when we do our berm. This was really thick brush when we started clearing, so there's a million roots, literally. Sapling, roots, limbs, everything, all kinds of debris out there. I'm not seeing any rocks, which is good, but that soil conditioner is definitely needed. Once we did the dozing on the farm, you got a lot of root wads and a lot of different refuge. I called my buddies up at Quick Attach, and they told me that their soil conditioner was probably the correct tool for the job. 3-point hitch soil conditioner, it should go in there and condition those rough plots and try and get a lot of that junk out of the plot and off to the side of the plot so that we can have a clean seed bed. Pretty amazing the way it just takes the dirt and then windrows all the nasty stuff out of it, where you can go in there and eventually get that off your plot. Kind of sifts the unwanted stuff out of the dirt, leaves the good stuff on the plot. This is a big creek right here, or a decent sized drainage, runs all the way through the farm. we put the plot right on the edge of the drainage. A lot of deer traffic along these drainages. The sign sure showed it. So one of the challenges of this farm, there's not a lot of access. I mean, it's literally a blank chalkboard full of brush. Now, when you do this, you really need to take into consideration wind direction when you go to a plot, the access you're taking, how much bedding area you might be intruding upon, or exactly where you think those deer are. So we're going to be very strategic about using one old existing logging road that goes all the way through the property, and then we're going to add some other access trails off of some side hills. The dozing's done, and we've also gone over it 2 different times with the quick attach soil conditioner. Just look what that soil conditioner does. It literally turned it into a clean food plot that's ready for planting.
Takes all the debris to one side of the plot, and then you can just push it off, and then you got a beautiful seed bed ready to plant. Good stuff.
This looks gorgeous. We also leveled out where the blind's gonna go in preparation of bringing the blind in. It's gonna sit right there, and we're gonna put our wind back into that deep creek right behind it on an east to northeast to north-northeast wind. Wade's actually cut some visual lanes so we can see what's coming. Once we're up in the blind, we'll be able to see over to that big ridge over there. Right there, there's a bunch of trails coming there, there, and there, and they all cross this crossing right here because everything else is too steep. It's ready for no mercy. Next step will be fertilization, and then eventually plant it. Next step after that is enjoy it for about 30 years. That is our access. Leads right down into the deep creek. Look at that for access. Oh, that is gorgeous. We're going to use some of the many cedar glades on this farm to actually hide our approach in and out. It's pretty cool the way this is laid out. There's a lot of oak, hickory, and maple brush, but there's also a pile of different cedar glades scattered throughout. Those cedars are great thermal cover, but they're also good visual cover as we access in and out of stands. This is what you call food plot architecture. Architect the plot, architect the access, architect the sight lines, architect everything. There is the access. Coming from there, right here, sneak it in, stay low, stay low. Where's the plot? Can't see it. Sneak up to the top of the bank, all clear, boom, let's get in the plot. If something would have been out there, you at least can make a play on it from back here, turkey or deer, because you're hidden. Now we're going to go up in the bucket, see what the view is to make sure our sight line is correct. Careful, Scotty. Yeah, these two for sure. And then there's one cedar across the way there that can go. And I think we'll be in pretty good shape, but these two for sure. Scott just walked the main creek crossing right there. That way we know what we have to trim to so we can see him. He disappeared a little bit back in there, so we're gonna take a few more out, and then we should be pretty good to go, I think. Always think ahead. Once we carve out our 2 food plots, then we're going to have to go in and take soil tests. Because one thing about it, with all these trees that have been here for probably, in some of these cases, 50, 60, 70 years, maybe 100 years, the pH is probably going to be quite low and overall very deficient in terms of what you need to grow good groceries. So we're going to do a soil test, and then we're going to apply pelletized lime to give it a shot right away, as well as all the different fertilization that the soil test tells us it needs. Once we get the soil test back and we address the needs of the dirt, then we're going to come in and plant it. The first thing I want to plant on this farm is clover with a host crop of wheat. 2 goals there in mind. Number 1, the clover is going to help condition the soil. It's going to add nitrogen back to the soil. We're going to get an immediate green food source for both the deer and the wild turkeys, and we hope to take advantage of that in late April and be able to hunt this farm within a few months of closing on it. We got Analogix mineral dirt, and I want to put it within bow range of the stand, probably within 30, 35 yards. And I also want to position it so that I can put a camera looking at it that looks across the plot. So we're going to put it right here, screw a camera into that stump right there, and then we'll be able to monitor the mineral as well as the plot.
The day has finally come. We got the field all dozed out. We got it soil conditioned, we got it fertilized, we soil conditioned it again. Now we're gonna put a cover crop of wheat through the drill and run it about half rate, and then come back over and top seed with Clover Plus from Biologics. So we're looking forward to it and can't wait to turn it green. Hopefully here in a couple weeks she'll be a green carpet for them turkeys. We got our wheat in the ground, wheat drilled. Now we're gonna top dress it with a little clover. Hopefully that wheat will be our cover crop until our clover comes up, and we'll have a lush green carpet out there. A little Delta Ag seed coat in there. Mix that up real good. There we are.
Souping this 120 right up. This is the southwest portion of the farm. Now we're going to the northeast portion of the farm to do another big ridge plot. We're gonna have one ridge plot, one bottom plot. We'll probably also add a pond in there, because the one thing that I think this farm lacks is good water source.
Well, we got the bottom plot done and planted. Now Bill come in here, carved out this top plot with a dozer, and we got the soil conditioner on, and we're gonna start picking up the roots, and Bill's actually working on a small little watering hole here. We're gonna have the blind up here about 25, 30 yards, and hopefully these deer will be in here in our green plot, come in the water. Hopefully we can kill a big buck up here on this lucky plot.
Trails are in, food plots are half done. Next thing we're gonna do is condition the soil test it, put the right nutrients down. Then we're gonna plant this in either mid to late March in hopes that by mid-April we've got green clover fields and wheat throughout both of the plots.
Got the plot completely cleared of all of the stumps and sticks and all the debris with the soil conditioner. And now fertilize it, a little heavy, and got to get this soil back in the right condition for to grow a crop. It had cedars on it, small oaks, and the pH is just not great. So we got a good fertilizer mix, and we're gonna spread it throughout the plot. We got the pond in, and looking forward to a green lush carpet out here.
We're really looking forward to see what we can grow here and see what we can take on film, both in the form of wild turkeys and white-tailed deer. The camera survey said a lot. We have a lot of both. Now we've just got to do our best to make sure we've got good access and a lot of food so that the critters will stay here.
Dad's lucky horseshoe did it again for us.
First turkey, first deer off of the new farm. This is 120 acres.
We're hoping to get the job done tonight. We're down in Missouri. This is my first time hunting with a rifle.
It was rewarding to sit here and watch the fruits of our labor.
Is there anybody better than Mark when it comes to strategizing on those lush green carpets of Biologic? I don't think so. Don't forget, we're shooting for 100,000 subscriptions here on the Drury Outdoors YouTube channel. All we need is for you to help us out, and in return, you're gonna be automatically entered in for a chance at a free PSE bow. Until next time, safe hunting, and thanks for watching DoD TV. This segment is brought to you by Mossy Oak Biologic, scientifically proven wild game products.